Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging with us as we figured out a few technical difficulties. We're so excited to have you join us for our webinar today on advancing equity for underserved communities by bridging the digital divide. This is such an important conversation. My name, first of all, is Chrissy Johnson. I am Vice President of External Affairs at Prosperity Now. This is a very important conversation exploring innovative strategies to increase digital access and adoption in underserved communities. During today's webinar, we will highlight practical solutions to bridge the digital divide, ensuring equitable access to broadband, and empowering underserved communities, including rural entrepreneurs, veterans, minority-owned businesses, and those from low to moderate income backgrounds. I apologize for the noise in the background. My son is having a few issues with lunch right now, as I'm sure a lot of you parents can relate. At Prosperity Now, we are committed to advancing economic opportunity, and today's webinar highlights a key part of that mission, ensuring that underserved communities have access to essential resources, build financial resilience, and achieve long-term economic mobility. A critical initiative driving this work is Prosperity Next, which we've launched in collaboration with Change Machine and Credytu. Prosperity Next aims to leverage technology and innovation to expand financial access, particularly through collaboration with community development financial institutions, or as you well know them, CDFIs, and organizations and other organizations like those that we're talking with today. So together we are creating digital tech-driven solutions that empower small business owners, families, and individuals to take control of their financial futures. Today's focus on bridging the digital divide underscores why Prosperity Next is so relevant and vital. Through Prosperity Next, we are developing AI-powered platforms that make services like tax preparation, financial coaching, and credit building more accessible to the communities that need them most. As we explore solutions today for improving financial well-being through digital access, this work is part of a broader effort to close financial equity gaps. Prosperity Next is about building pathways to greater economic mobility, and our partnerships with Credytu and Change Machine are instrumental in achieving this mission. Today's webinar is the third installment of Prosperity Now's webinar series, brought to you in partnership with T-Mobile, whose broadband capabilities help deliver these critical resources to communities in need. Prosperity Now is proud to partner with T-Mobile to help bridge the digital divide and equip individuals and families, particularly those in underserved communities, with the resources that they need to thrive. Thank you for being here today, and we look forward to a valuable discussion. Before we dive into our conversation, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, Olivia Harp, who will walk us through some housekeeping items. Olivia, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Chrissy, and thank you again for joining us for today's webinar. I'm just here to share a few housekeeping tips. Most of you have been to a Prosperity Now or a Prosperity Next webinar in the past, so I'm just going to go over some quick reminders. So just so you know, this webinar is being recorded and it will be mailed out to you within a week from today, probably a little sooner than that because we all, well, many of us will be out of office for the holiday season. Also, all webinar attendees are muted to ensure sound quality, but we definitely want you to use that GoToWebinar questions box to submit your reactions, questions, anything that's on your mind. We want to hear from you throughout today's webinar, and we want to ensure that you are as engaged in today's content and conversation as possible. And if you experience any technical issues, please email gotomeeting@prosperitynow.org. Without further ado, I'm going to pass things back over to my colleague, Chrissy, to get things started. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Olivia. All right. And then before we get into launch into the rest of the presentation, I do want to make sure that we take some time to introduce our amazing partners at T-Mobile, Joanna Diaz Sofar. So she is Principal Manager at T-Mobile for Government and External Affairs. In her current role, she works with internal and external stakeholder organizations advocating in public policy space for T-Mobile priorities. She also drives visibility of T-Mobile in the marketplace and its good citizenship with government leaders, diverse organizations, and a variety of external constituencies like the folks on this call, which is why we are so thrilled and honored to have her here today. Joanna, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chrissy. And thank you guys for having us. As mentioned, my name is Joanna Diaz-Sofer. I'm the Principal Manager of Strategic Alliances and External Affairs here in our Government Affairs Office based in DC. I'm delighted to be with you all here today and working with Prosperity Now on this collaboration. Just a little about me and T-Mobile. I actually first started working with T-Mobile in 2017 as a consultant, and I was advising on their merger with Sprint. And at the time, T-Mobile, which wasn't really that long ago, was the fourth largest carrier in the country. It was small, it was scrappy, relatively known, especially in the metropolitan areas. Um, and now fast forward to today in 2024, we are actually the second largest carrier in the country, and the fastest growing broadband company in the country. That merger with Sprint really took us to the rest of the country, and especially in rural areas, which I know we're focusing on today as well. At T-Mobile, we believe in no digital connectivity is linked to personal, economic, and social vitality of people and communities everywhere. And that's why we're committed to making our network accessible and affordable. As mentioned, our merger with Sprint really took us to another level in terms of investing in rural areas. We're expanding our network into communities that have traditionally been overlooked by other providers. And a few years ago, we made a commitment to the people of rural America that they will not be left behind in this 5G era. Small communities would be covered by 5G to enhance their connectivity needs at home, on the farm, on the go, at school, wherever they need it. We've built since that time over 500,000, nearly 500,000 square miles of new 5G coverage across rural America and doubled our retail presence in over 600 stores and counting that provide vital in-person service and options. So when we talk about underserved, we're really talking about the full scope of underserved in the country. We also launched our 5G home internet service a couple years ago nationwide, and so many customers have flocked to the service. Internet customers are traditionally some of the unhappiest customers around, and ISPs are ranked dead last, even coming in like below airlines and health insurance providers, which really says something. So anyway, we kind of jumped into the broadband space. We flipped the script on internet customer satisfaction. Some of a recent study just found that T-Mobile 5G home internet customers are happier than cable internet customers. And our internet is a fixed wireless, so it operates off our 5G network. And a lot of times for rural America, that's the best because, laying fiber and, doing fiber build out in rural America is very costly and it takes a ton of time. And sometimes it's just not even possible with the geography. It's a flat monthly price, $50 a month, very simple setup. You literally, can get it from a store, plug it in, download the app, and get connected in less than 15 minutes. We're not available in every single zip code or community because we're slowly rolling out our internet just to make sure that, the capability is not, strained on our network and that everyone's having a great experience. But if we're available in your area and you'd like to try us out, you can test drive our 5G home internet for free for 15 days. And if you're currently in a contract, we'll pay up to $750 to cover any early termination fees. And we also have a price lock. In terms of the wide range of work that we do in digital equity, there's really so much. I can't mention all of it because I want to get to our amazing panelists, but I want to mention some of the big programs that we provide. We offer free and highly subsidized internet connectivity to 10 million eligible student households across the country through something we call Project 10 Million. We actually launched this in 2020, right before the pandemic even happened. We've been working on this Project 10 Million, where we were going to give 10 million students in the country free Wi-Fi enabled hotspots. And then, of course, like as we were getting ready to launch it, the pandemic happened, and it was just very serendipitous. So obviously, we've all heard of the homework gap and everything that comes with that. But any child can qualify for Project 10 Million through the National School and Lunch Program. We actually have other qualifiers. So if you're on SNAP or EBT, Medicaid, Head Start, if you're a foster youth, migrant, homeless, or runaway youth, you can also qualify. You can walk in a store and get it, or we can offer it through your school district, which is actually kind of the preferred route because it's more of a white glove service. We're also supporting small towns and rural communities across America with grants that connect with grants that help revitalize communities. So a lot of times, we see a lot of community funds going to, inner cities, which is great and obviously needed, but rural towns have a really hard time getting access to grants and donations. And so we launched Hometown Grants to kind of fix that pain point. We obviously believe in the potential of, all these small towns across the country, and we're investing in them. So this is actually a 5-year commitment to bring 5G to rural America. And one of the ways that we're trying to create a pathway for rural economic vitality now and in the future. We work on all kinds of projects for Hometown Grants. It can be anything from technology upgrades to like dog parks, outdoor spaces. It can be for the arts, community centers. Really, we're open to helping all small communities. We award up to $50,000 for shovel-ready projects, and elected officials, town managers, tribal leaders, nonprofit community leaders from small towns with populations less than 50,000 can apply. And it's been incredibly successful. So we encourage you all to check that out. We're also making sure that we, take care of our heroes, our first responders. We have a Connecting Heroes program that offers first responder support network for firefighters, EMS, police, and other emergency responders. During times of network congestion, we actually, first responders that are enrolled in our Connecting Heroes program actually receive priority access, and that's through our network slicing technology, which right now we're really, really the only national wireless carrier that has like the full capabilities of kind of tapping into that through our technology. We're also proud to offer free unlimited service tailored for first responder agencies on America's largest and fastest 5G network. So we do offer free services for our heroes. Then one of the other things I wanted to quickly mention is this year, you've probably heard about, hopefully you've heard about our partnership with SpaceX to deliver direct-to-cell capabilities. This month, actually, the Federal Communications Commission granted T-Mobile and Starlink a U.S. license to provide supplemental coverage for space. And so on the heels of this approval, we just opened, like literally yesterday, registration for a beta program for a direct-to-cell satellite service that will help eliminate dead zones. So when you're driving across the country or you're on a hike and you're just in a total dead zone, this this service, direct to cell capability, would help you actually be able to text somebody. We're working on voice and video for later. But right now, just even if you're stuck on a hike and you need help or something, you can at least get a text through. We're really, really excited about this technology. We're the first national carrier to be participating at this point, and it's very excited. So if you are a T-Mobile customer or a business or a first responder, you can register for access to our beta program, which is expected to launch early next year. So stay tuned for more on that. I also just want to mention we're incredibly friendly military employer. In 2018, we announced an ambitious goal of hiring 10,000 veterans and military spouses in less than 5 years, and we actually completed that last year. We're super proud of that. We know the transition from civilian life isn't easy, and we offer dedicated training opportunities to veterans and their families. So we offer specialized hiring processes for them and opportunities for them. We're also the preferred wireless carrier for the VA, and we're connecting community-based outpatient clinics with our 5G internet product and providing the tech that enables real-time healthcare via video. We work with so many veterans organizations across the country. And of course, we also, for our active duty service members and veterans and their families, we give a 40% discount on all of our Go 5G plans. The final thing I want to mention, and which is so, so on point for the topic today, is our equity in action work. Connectivity is only half the solution in today's digital world, and T-Mobile continues to provide funding for impactful programs that equip people and businesses with tools needed to navigate and thrive in our connected world. Over the last 4 to 5 years, I've actually had the absolute honor to participate and help run our Equity in Action program. And we've invested over $25 million in underserved communities for things like digital literacy, financial literacy, tech entrepreneurship, workforce development, scholarships, internships, apprenticeship programs, and so much more. And so through our equity and action work, we've actually been able to support community organizations such as Strive CLT, which is an incredible organization serving underserved community in the Charlotte area. You'll actually hear from Dr. Gwen High later today on the panel. That's just an example of one of the partners that we work with across the country. And, we have a saying at T-Mobile, we won't stop. This is just really a small part of what we do, but these are some of our bigger programs that we wanted to share with you all, just in case you weren't familiar with them or you didn't know that we offered these. As I said, we're so happy to be working with Prosperity Now and Prosperity Next and all of the, campaigns that, we'll be seeing from them. And I'll put some links in the chat so you can access some of these programs, but we hope you utilize them and spread the word. And we look forward to hearing from our panelists. So with that, I'll turn it back to Chrissy and the team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanna. We are, it's amazing work that you are doing and needs to be continued and driven through these communities. And I'm really happy that you're here to help us amplify this conversation today. For awareness for the audience, we're going to have, as far as structure today, a couple polling questions throughout. So I'm going to hit you with a polling question. We're going to do a presentation, one more polling question, then launch into our panel discussion. So I'm going to ask the team to pull up our first poll question, and I'll read it out loud to you. First of all, is your organization currently involved in efforts to drive digital inclusion? There are 5 options here. Yes, we're leading initiatives to bridge the digital divide. Yes, we're supporting initiatives to bridge the digital divide. So that's supporting instead of leading, but still very important. No, we're interested in getting involved in the future. No, we aren't involved in this work and don't plan to. Not sure, don't know. I'll give you a minute here to fill it out. All right. So, as no surprise, and so glad that we have the right population here, there is nobody who voted for no, we aren't involved in this work and don't plan to. So the rest of you were in the right place, all of you were in the right place. It looks like not 28% of you are leading initiatives, so thank you for everything you're doing. We're excited to learn more from you. 38% of you are supporting initiatives regarding this work. Incredible. So many lessons to learn from this entire crew. And then 28% of you are interested in getting involved in the future. Perfect audience for this conversation. Reminder that there is a chat available, and after the panel, we will have hopefully have a little time for questions. But before I do that, I am going to turn it over to Change Machine, our partner Change Machine. Lydia, if you would like to provide your presentation.
Hi, it's nice to see everyone today. At Change Machine, we know that digital equity definitely requires access to both devices and the internet, as we talked about and we'll hear more about in a bit. But as you all identified with your responses in the registration process, there are other barriers that we need to address to cross the digital divide. Things like affordability and a fear of distrust of tech, and also bias against underserved communities. At Change Machine, our focus is on what happens once underserved communities have access to the internet. And the question is then, how can we help them access and use tools that enable economic mobility? So at Change Machine, we have worked with nonprofit practitioners to help them support their clients in achieving their financial goals. As smartphones have become more common and digital financial tools increasingly available, many individuals served by nonprofits remain hesitant to actually utilize digital tools for financial activities. You all shared a number of barriers that we've heard from our partners as well, but two that I want to focus on today are a lack of familiarity with digital financial tools, or fintech, on the part of practitioners and clients, and this is related to both digital and financial literacy, which we'll discuss more in our panel. And you can move on to the next slide. And then also uncertainty around which tools to recommend or use. Practitioners and those they serve have questions like, who can they trust with their data and information? Are there hidden fees to worry about? And will the tool actually help more than harm? Is there going to be ROI there, and will the cost ultimately be worth the benefit? So let's talk about some ways to address those challenges. And if you can go on to the next slide. Let's start with the first barrier, addressing a lack of familiarity with digital financial tools. Yeah, this is the right slide, thanks. It's not just about the end user who's navigating financial security. What we've learned is also that practitioners need to have a reasonable level of familiarity with digital financial tools, or they won't feel comfortable introducing these options to those that they serve. So before we push our communities to download their online banking app or track their credit score online, we need to start by assessing how practitioners and clients are already engaging with these tools and to what the extent that they're ready. So in partnership with the National Association for Latino Community Asset Builders, which is NALCAB, and through several focus groups with their network of nonprofits, we created our Integrating FinTech Practitioner Guide, distilling lessons learned and recommended best practices to help organizations incorporate financial tools into their efforts to accelerate the financial security outcomes of those they serve. So the result was a step-by-step guide, which includes a number of worksheets, tools, and examples on how to build that out. So we're going to do just a quick overview of what's covered. It includes tools like assessing readiness for fintech, a theory of change tool, a guide on how to select fintechs, a customer journey map, and considerations for data collection and tracking impact. So I'll share just briefly about assessing readiness for fintech. We got some great feedback from our folks in the focus group that talked about starting with internal team conversations and exploring thoughts and ideas about the use of fintech for themselves and their clients. We heard that a lot of the organizations had younger frontline staff who were driving the conversations because they had increased comfort level and experience. And so they were helping to lead their teams into the future, which was cool. As a team, identify what type of information you want to gather, both about current fintech use and comfort, but also about general access to technology and comfort level. And then also ensure that those frontline staff are driving the work, and explore what general tech solutions might be needed to help enable teaching your clients about fintech opportunities. So a lot of folks, especially when they were mostly seeing people digitally or virtually through the pandemic, realized that they needed to work with their clients on how to set up Zoom or WhatsApp or Google Hangout so that they could actually have a conversation and screen share and show some things to their clients. And then choose one or more methods to collect and synthesize community member feedback. Of course, there are surveys, but you could also add relevant questions to your existing intake, maybe host focus groups, or simply document the results from one-on-one conversations. So we've provided the full version of our Integrating FinTech Guide in today's handouts, but Change Machine will also be launching a course on our platform to help organizations walk through this process. And everyone who registered for the event will get more information on this in the new year. We also provide program consulting to support organizations wanting to integrate FinTech into their financial coaching work. And if you sign up for a demo of our platform, we can talk about more what this would look like for your organization. So next slide. Then once you understand the FinTech readiness of your team and those that you serve, your organization is in a better position to recommend products and services that can help them achieve their financial goals. And this brings us to the second barrier that we discussed. How do you know what's actually safe and beneficial? And this is where our Seal of Inclusivity tool comes from. It's also included in our full guide, but we've included an abbreviated version in today's handouts that you can use to apply the Seal of Inclusivity in your own work. So there's 4 key principles that guide our seal and ultimately drive whether a product meets our high standards for equitable use of technology. So that is, does the tool actually help clients to build their financial security? Is it considered fairly priced? And then is it inclusive and accessible, including to what extent is it mobile friendly? And then safe and transparent. So we have a number of key questions to consider, and folks can use the Seal of Inclusivity on their own, but we also have pre-vetted products across a range of financial needs, from building credit to paying off debt and establishing a savings habit or starting to invest. And we have a tool on our coach platform that helps to make recommendations as well. So we'll go on to the next slide. While we have created the Seal of Inclusivity to help practitioners assess and recommend FinTech, the intention is not to tell folks what to do or where to put their money, but to empower them with information, tools, and resources to make a decision that they feel confident in that will help them reach their goals. We use the coaching approach in our methods and our tools to support practitioners in also taking the coaching approach with their clients. The individuals you work with are welcome to use our Seal of Inclusivity worksheet to assess products for themselves, but our platform also includes guides designed for use around specific financial outcomes, like this tip sheet on how to get started with FinTech, or a worksheet for evaluating digital banking products. We've provided these 2 tools in your handouts today as well. I'm actually a former financial coach, and I was a user of the Change Machine platform before I joined the Change Machine team 3.5 years ago. So I'm also happy to answer any questions that folks may have about how to use these tools in practice in financial coaching. But in the interest of time, I'll turn things back over to Chrissy. Thanks.
Thank you, Lydia and Change Machine. This is so helpful. And as I mentioned, there is a chat available. So if you have questions for Lydia, please use it and the rest of the team. I'm going to move it over then to Olivia to the next polling question here. The question for everyone is, what do you think is the most pressing challenge for bridging the digital divide in rural communities? 1, expanding affordable broadband access. 2, providing financial literacy and digital literacy training. 3, building trust and protecting consumer data. 4, offering subsidies for technology and devices. Or 5, developing digital tools that meet communities' real needs. Give it a few moments here. All right, it looks like the votes are starting to even out a little bit, so I can read through. All right, so the most popular one, it looks like, is expanding affordable broadband access. So thank you to our partners at T-Mobile for what you do. It seems that everyone agrees that's critical. Providing financial and digital literacy training. Thank you, Change Machine, for everything you do. That's another priority. Building trust and protecting consumer data is at 12%. And offering subsidies for technology and devices is at 19%. And developing digital tools that meet communities' real needs is also at 19%. All right. helpful background for the conversation that we're about to get started here. So I'm going to transition over to our panel today. So welcoming our amazing panelists, I'm going to go through and introduce them. First is Venus R. Lockett, Chief Empowerment Officer and Program Director at Bank on Georgia. Lydia Reuters, who you just heard from, Head of Partnerships and Community Engagement at Change Machine. And Dr. Jeffrey Weinstein, who is Principal Economist and Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation at the Division of Depositor and Consumer Protection. For people's awareness who don't know the full spelling, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is FDIC, a federal government agency. Unfortunately, Dr. Gwendolyn High has had some difficulties with joining us today, so she is not able to be here. However, we do have a video that we will plan to share with her from her team at Strive CLT momentarily, so that there is some representation of their great work that they are doing. But with all that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jeffrey. Based on the newly released FDIC National Survey of Unbanked and Underbanked Households data, I'm hoping that you can share with us what are some of the key findings or significant trends in how banked households access their accounts. Even more so, how do these trends intersect with digital equity challenges, particularly for unbanked households that rely solely on cash or lack access to prepaid cards and non-bank online payment services, for example, PayPal, Venmo, things like that that folks are familiar with. Dr. Jeffrey.
All right, great. Thank you very much. So I have several slides on our FDIC National Survey of Unbanked and Underbanked Households that I'm going to talk about. So if we move to the next slide. Just a quick overview of the survey. So the FDIC National Survey of Unbanked and Underbanked Households contributes to our understanding of economic inclusion. The survey has been conducted biennially since 2009 in response to a statutory mandate. It's administered in partnership with the U.S. Census Bureau as a supplement to its monthly current population survey. And the FDIC National Survey of Unbanked and Underbanked Households is nationally representative, drawing representative samples from all 50 states and the District of Columbia. The most recent survey was conducted in June of last year, collecting responses from almost 30,000 households. And the FDIC publishes estimates at the national and state levels and for larger metropolitan statistical areas. If we can move to the next slide, in this presentation, I'm just going to highlight some of the results. There are a lot more results, and at the end, I'll provide you with the link to obtain the report and custom table generators to get statistics you want, etc. All right, so this slide shows the national unbanked rate. So just taking a step back, ownership of an account at a federally insured institution provides many benefits, including a safe place to store money and to save. However, it is the case that bank account ownership is not universal. We can see from this figure that in 2023, 4.2% of US households, approximately 5.6 million, were unbanked, meaning that no one in the household had a checking or savings account at a bank or credit union. The unbanked rate changed very little between 2021, when it was 4.5%, and 2023. However, if we look over the longer term, between 2021, when the unbanked rate was at its highest level since the survey began in 2009, when it was 8.2%, and 2023, the unbanked rate fell by almost half. All right, next slide, please. All right, so consistent with the trend in the national unbanked rate that I had shown on the previous slide, unbanked rates have fallen substantially over time for several groups that had historically high unbanked rates. However, this slide shows there's still room for improvement. So this slide shows unbanked rates by selected household characteristics in 2023. And we can see that unbanked rates continue to be higher among lower income households, households with lower educational attainment, Black, Hispanic, and American Indian or Alaska Native households, and working age households with a disability. So just to give an example, if we look at the gold bars for education, we can see that households that do not have a high school diploma, it was the case that almost 20% were unbanked, and that's more than 10 times the percent of households that were unbanked for households that had some college or a college degree. So again, very big differences by educational attainment. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this slide shows information about households with a bank account, that is banked households. So households with bank accounts can access their accounts in several ways through in-person methods such as bank tellers and ATMs, and through off-site methods such as mobile, online, and telephone banking. And so this figure focuses on use of bank tellers, mobile banking, and online banking as the primary method by which bank households access their accounts. We can see here, if we look at mobile banking, the light blue line, use of this method as the primary method of account access increased almost ninefold over the past decade, from 5.5 to 48.3%. And in comparison, if we look at the dark blue line, which is for bank tellers, use of bank tellers fell by more than half, and use of online banking, the gold line, declined by more than 1/3 over the past decade. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so this slide is going to show use of bank tellers as the primary method of account access by selected characteristics in 2023. So we do know from the survey results that the decline in bank tellers that I had mentioned previously at the national level was widespread across characteristics. But we can see from this slide that it continued to be more prevalent among certain groups, including lower income households, households with less educational attainment, older households, and households that did not live in a metropolitan area. However, it was still the case that more than 90% of all banked households use an in-person channel, either ATMs or bank tellers, at least once in 2023 to access their accounts. So what does this mean? This means that while use of bank tellers has fallen substantially with respect to how households primarily access their bank accounts, it is the case that almost all banked households seem to take advantage of bank tellers or ATMs, so in-person channels, at least once per year. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so this slide shows smartphone access over the past decade. So why might this be important? Well, in general, financial institutions are seeking to interact with their customers through the internet and mobile phones, especially smartphones. And we can see here that over the past decade, the percent of households that owned or had regular access to a smartphone, these are the dark blue lines in both figures, increased substantially from 58.7% in 2013 to almost 90%, 87.8% in 2023. If we look among unbanked households, which in the left figure, that's the orange line, and also among households that did not live in a metropolitan area, that's the gold line in the right figure, we can see that smartphone access among these populations either doubled or close to doubled over the past decade. However, it is the case that smartphone access continued to be lower for unbanked households and for households that did not live in a metropolitan area in 2023. So there are disparities that remain, although in general, the disparities have been closing over time. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the survey asked about household use of prepaid cards as well as non-bank online payment services like PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. These services are important because they allow consumers to store money and to make or receive payments. However, we find from the survey that nearly 2/3 of unbanked households in 2023 use neither of these services, neither online payment services nor prepaid cards. And these households may be considered cash only, presumably relying primarily on cash and other paper-based instruments like non-bank money orders to conduct their financial transactions. So why is this population important? Well, if we think about households that do use online payments or prepaid cards, they have access to electronic payment networks. So unbanked households that use these services would gain access to these payment networks from which cash-only unbanked households are likely to be excluded. Okay, next slide, please. All right, the final topic I want to talk about here is household use of crypto. The 2023 survey included new questions on crypto, a largely unregulated new technology that uses encryption and a public ledger, the blockchain, as a means outside banks and credit unions of storing and transferring value. Why may we care about this from an economic inclusion standpoint? Well, advocates often claim crypto is a new path to wealth for individuals who historically have been disadvantaged. So the survey added these questions to understand how widespread crypto is across the population, widespread crypto uses across the population, as well as the specific uses of crypto. And so we indeed find that crypto use varied across the population. It was higher among banked households, higher income households, Asian and white households, younger households, and households that lived in a metropolitan area. But overall in the survey, crypto use was pretty low. About 4.8% of all households had owned or used crypto in the past 12 months in 2023. Next slide, please. All right, this is my last slide, and it talks about specific uses of crypto. So for households that use crypto, the survey asks whether they held crypto as an investment, used it to send or receive money, or used it to make purchases either in person or online. And we can see here that the vast majority of households that use crypto, whether they had higher or lower incomes, held crypto as an investment, so around 90%, far more than the share that used crypto for the other purposes of making purchases or sending or receiving money. And this pattern here, we show it's true by income. It was also true by age and a lot of other characteristics. All right, so that was just a very quick overview of the survey results. If you want to get the full set of survey results, please visit the website. Olivia is going to put that link in the chat. And then she's also going to put in links to the FDIC's Get Banked campaign, as well as the FDIC's Consumer Research Program to see some of the other projects that FDIC researchers in the consumer finance space are working on. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for that incredible report. And yes, you can access this all online if you want to dive into the work that Jeffrey and the FDIC have been doing. There's a lot of wonderful data that is very valuable to the work that we're driving. I am going to move it over to Venus. Venus, your work primarily focuses on digital financial inclusion. What are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered in ensuring that underserved communities have equitable digital access to mainstream banking and other financial services? And how are you addressing those challenges?
Sure. So thank you very much. I'm really excited that Prosperity Now is hosting this webinar, and also to be able to share some of the work we're doing through Bank On. So I am a Bank On leader and the former program manager for Bank On Atlanta for the city of Atlanta. And I am now leading the charge for Bank On Georgia, for the Bank On Georgia initiative for programming that is available throughout the state. And for those who are unfamiliar with Bank On, we work to bring unbanked and underbanked communities into the financial mainstream by providing safe and affordable accounts. Bank On only certifies financial institutions that have deposit insurance through the FDIC or the NCUA, which is the National Credit Union, I believe is Alliance. There are 478 certified accounts and counting. I'm having a hard time keeping up. And they are available in over 46,000 branches throughout the U.S. There are 102 coalitions, so it's really, really possible that you have a Bank On coalition in your state or in your area. And at the foundation of these accounts are the national account standards with such key features as, you get the debit card, free debit card network for Visa, MasterCard, Discover for point of sale and bill payment. There are transaction accounts at insured depository institutions, as I mentioned. Minimum opening balance is $25 or less. The monthly fees are, if they're not waivable, are $5 or less. If waivable, $10 or less after at least two options to waive the fee entirely with a single transaction. There are no overdraft fees with Bank On accounts. And then there are no account activation, closure, dormancy, inactivity, or low balance fees. So we really have an account that meets people where they are. So as it relates to challenges, we are dealing with two sides of the coin, the financial aspect of our work and then the digital inclusion aspect of our work. And some of our challenges include, along with some of the challenges that Dr. Jeffrey mentioned, we're dealing with areas in Georgia where access to a bank branch is either limited or non-existent. Definitely a lack of financial literacy and awareness. And then a lack of awareness of programs such as Bank On and other resources that are available through our coalition members, such as various asset building educational workshops, credit, clinics, financial coaching, counseling, and so on. Additionally, I didn't see the work that we do through Bank On in many digital inclusion efforts, like in our state digital equity plans. I am on the Georgia Connectivity Advisory Council. And I wanted to make sure that we had a stronger focus on the financial aspect of the work that we're doing here in Georgia. So it made sense to bring our financial inclusion focus together with a digital inclusion focus for digital financial inclusion. We have an American Connection Corps member on our team, and through our listening tours, we are working to understand the challenges our community members are experiencing with the three main components of digital inclusion, which are access to affordable internet, which we have, a lot of residents that really can't afford internet access, and then access to the appropriate devices. And I say appropriate devices, a lot of our program participants are doing things on their mobile phones, and some are doing things on their tablets, which aren't as effective as having, a laptop to work through. And then awareness of digital, financial services are really, really, how I say, we're finding that a lot of people don't really understand, or they're scared of it. They think they're going to break different things, right, when they get on there. So we really are trying to work to understand, again, what their challenges are and introduce them to the financial services and tools. We're also bringing our coalition members up to speed on digital equity activities, because what I'm finding out over the past couple of years when I'm asking questions, a lot of people don't know what's going on, or they think it does not apply to them. So everyone needs to understand that everyone has a role to play in this space, because digital equity, digital inclusion affects all of us and everything that we do. And so we definitely want to start, from an even foundation of understanding, so that we can move forward and do the work. So this will help us address the challenges I mentioned, which will in turn help us bring more unbanked and underbanked people into the financial mainstream and help build strong foundations for asset building. Thank you.
Thank you, Venus. And I always love a call to action at the end, a commitment.
Absolutely.
There's a chance that Dr. Gwen may have, I saw her trying to join for a second, so I'm just going to take a moment. Were you able to join, Dr. Gwen? All right. Well, you know what? She still shared a video. So Strive CLT is amazing, and I want to make sure that they are represented today. Oh, Dr. Gwen,
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh my goodness.
I am
This,
thrilled to hear you.
this has been an ordeal. I am so sorry.
Oh no, I am so thrilled you can join us. Thank you for bearing with us with the ironically digital technology issues that we've been navigating. I know this platform can sometimes be mystifying, but we're here. And so I'm going to just turn it over to you with a question, Dr. Gwen. Through your incredible work at Strive CLT, you must have gained some invaluable insights while working with the residents of Southside Homes. Could you share some of those key insights and how they shaped your approach to addressing disparities in digital and financial literacy?
Sure, I will. I'll just tell you quickly. Ours is a nonprofit that works with Southside Homes, which is a public housing property in Charlotte, North Carolina. There are about a little over 800 residents that live in 400 some households there. And we started our nonprofit during the pandemic, wanting to focus specifically on some areas which we thought would help residents improve their lives and move on. And the primary pillars for us were reading, digital, and financial literacy. Three key things I'll tell you we learned early about working with the community is that when you're working in communities like this, you have to really focus on building relationships first. If you build the relationships and you can gain the trust of the people there who will let you help them. So that's one key insight I'll share with you. The other is that's what's needed to establish trust. And because we started an after school program first and we're seeing children every day and their parents, we were able over a year's time to gain pretty good trust in that community. And then you have to be able to provide a solution that folks in the community need and want. And for us, our opportunity to do something in digital literacy came about because Livium, which is the public housing property, asked us, knowing that digital literacy was one of our pillars, asked if we would like to be able to work with them to respond to requests that had come from seniors in the community to learn more technology. in Libya, the housing authority was moving to an online platform requiring residents there to engage with business more and more using technology and not so much in person. And it was frustrating. The seniors expressed a lot of concern, a lot of fears, a lot of dissatisfaction. And building on those same areas, what I said of trust and relationships, I asked if I could spend time talking to them and really hearing their fears and concerns and what they felt was needed for them to be comfortable taking computer literacy classes and see if we can't move this process along better for the housing authority as well as the residents. So what I'd like Chrissy to show is a video that shows what happened, the outcome of the first class we offered. It was, we have 4 weeks of classes, hour-long classes, and we dealt with computer basics, email basics, internet basics, and then session focused on how to use the portal that they were going to have to use going forward. And if we could show that video now, I think it tells the story itself of what happened, the outcomes of that, and how people felt about taking the class that we were able to develop.
Wonderful. I will turn it over to Lily. There we go.
I'm eager. I'm anxious. I'm ready. In Living is going on to a platform, an online platform. The residents need to have skill sets so that they can feel comfortable with it. We had one gentleman who said he had never even touched a computer, and I was so excited, kind of focused on him because I feel like if he was at the bottom and he walked away feeling good, then most people would.
I had an enjoyment experience, and I learned more than I thought I could learn, and it's just been wonderful.
Each week was something different. You know, every day I came in, I learned something. I learned that I can just save stuff and then I have to worry about going long typing again and putting it back in.
We could give them basic computer skills, basic internet skills, basic email skills, and then we got on to the portal today, made sure everybody had their portal sign on.
I learned the software is the brain and how to, it generally turned the whole system on because I didn't know any of that.
We had some great incentives. Strive was able to secure refurbished laptops from the Center of Digital Equity. And so everybody got a laptop, a nice refurbished laptop. And Enlivian was offering them a $50 stipend just for coming to learn the things that they wanted to learn anyway. So everybody left today excited and happy.
I'm going on the Google site and I'm going to experiment with the library, trying to set up for me a library card. And I'm just going to figure out some things. I'm going to explore.
It's going to come in handy. And I thank them for that, you know.
Together, we thrive. Our Enlivian is your Enlivian.
That video touches my heart every time I see it, when I think about the first meeting I had with those seniors who were angry even about having to deal with technology and go through this new process. And so to have that people feel that way afterwards was very, very gratifying. And the reason folks, one of the residents talked about the libraries, we actually had a librarian come to one of our sessions at the end and talk about the kind of technology classes that were available at the library that they can take also. And we signed people up for library cards who did not have them. As a result of that first class, there were people in it. That first class was really folks who had practically no experience at all. They were 60 years of age and older, and they asked us if we would open it up because they had neighbors who were in their 50s who were a little bit younger, said, hey, can I get in on this? And so the next class we did lower the age some to be responsive to mature adults. And Enlivian has now asked us if we would increase the classes and work with their properties throughout, their family properties. So we're looking to have a big year in 2025 doing more of this. Excited about that.
That your remarks and that video are so inspiring. Your activity and your action is inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Gwen. And your comments on trust, and it's a perfect segue to our next question with Lydia here. So Lydia, bringing you back after your presentation. You talked about the role practitioners can play in introducing underserved communities to safe, affordable fintech products, but we also know that a lack of trust in financial institutions and new technologies can prevent people from leveraging these tools. So how can organizations like those on the call today help address this barrier?
Yeah, definitely. I was really connecting with what Dr. Gwen had to say as well. So appreciate that. I think centering in the coaching approach is so key. So first, listening and acknowledging that hesitation that folks feel is valid. Financial institutions have not always worked in the best interest of the people that we serve. People have good reasons to be cautious and intentional with the products that they choose. So by respecting our clients' perspectives and seeing their concerns as valid, we support their self-advocacy, and we can point out the strength of their critical thinking approach and help them build the skills for evaluating products in view of their needs and their goals, as well as doing those cost benefit and risk assessments, because that is going to look different for each person. And we build trust by showing that for us, it's not about that we care if they use the product. It's not about the product uptake, but it's really about their goals and them achieving financial security. And using fintech can help to do that with more ease and efficiency. And so we also really use practical interpersonal and coaching skills, which we also share in the guide, to do things like outline the product details, how it works, the costs, the positives and negatives, and then maybe go on the website together to check it out, send a follow-up email with a few options to choose of different products with live links to make it easy to navigate, not just sending people off with the name of a product and hoping that they get to the point of checking it out. We also build trust by being transparent and making sure that it's clear that the decision-making power is totally in their hands. And so in that way, we are responsive in building trust with our clients. Back to you, Chrissy.
Thank you, Lydia. We are at time, but I do want to when we did the survey, it was evident that the majority of folks on this call are either already engaged and leading this effort or supporting this effort, or desire to be so. So if we could get everyone on the panel back on video, I would love for our closing question for everyone to take a moment to answer briefly. What is the one practical takeaway that you would like these people on the phone to walk away from here with as they go forward into their communities to address the digital divide? Venus, I believe you are first on my list, so I'm going to start with you.
Sure. So, in the work that we do, it's not up to us to direct people where to go. It's up to us to raise awareness and educate people so they can make their own educated choices. And when it comes down to it, we realize that people just don't know what they don't know. So, our goal is to raise awareness, share the information, and then, help people, with their own choices.
Brilliant. Dr. Jeffrey, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll just say, coming from the research perspective, I would encourage you, if you're interested, take a look at the data, the household survey data. We've been doing it since 2009 biennially, so there's a lot of data. We have a lot of tools on the website that you can use to analyze the data in any way you want, make tables, make figures. We also have it, as I mentioned, for states and many metropolitan statistical areas. So yeah, I just encourage you to use the data, enjoy the data, see what's new in the data. And of course, if you have questions using it, we have a lot of information on the website, and there's an email box too that you can send questions to us to. So feel free and enjoy the data and see what you can learn from it.
It cuts through it all. Dr. Gwen.
What I would recommend when you're interested in working with people who live in underserved communities, that you really think about relationships and not transactions. I heard from, and I see all the head nods right now, I heard from a number of groups that had talked about how tough it was to work in this community. And are you sure you want to be there? That folks don't respond, or you send flyers out and two people would show up. And so we heard all the stories that it was almost like, well, good luck with that, but don't expect to get very far. And what I learned is that folks were going in and doing things that made them feel good, but were not necessarily things that the people in the community wanted or were interested in. So if you're going to give a ham or a turkey at a holiday and then you leave, and they don't see you again, then they're going to grab the ham and a turkey and go back to their homes and really don't care, because it's a transaction. You're giving something to people who have less than what they have, and that feels good. But at the same time, if you want to have an extended stay in that community, working with people, take time to have the conversations, like Lydia, all the things that people said, and they will respond. It would take a while. It's not going to happen right away, but yeah, be open to having the conversations, building the relationships, gaining trust, and folks will work with you to do what it is you're trying to do. The very first people I hired to work in our program were folks who lived in the community. That was important. One of our board members is a parent who has her child in our after-school program. Those are the things you have to do to build bridges and get done to what you want to do to meet your mission, to accomplish your mission, rather.
So meaningful. Thank you, Dr. Gwen. Lydia, let's wrap it up with you.
I think Venus and Dr. Gwen said it all. I think we're practitioners and you all are community leaders on the same page. But yeah, just meet folks where they are, work in view of their goals, and that's what folks are going to access their motivation to pursue, to take action, to access digital tools and to work toward their financial security.
Well, thank you to all of the panelists today. As evidenced by the fact that we did go a little bit over, this is just the beginning of the conversation, and I can't wait for our next engagement and opportunities to learn more from what you are up to and how we can better work together to bridge the digital divide. So this concludes our panel for today and our panels for 2024. It's almost the end of the year, so happy early new year to everyone. We really appreciate you all joining us. There will be more of these opportunities in 2025. And as we move forward with these opportunities in 2025, we're always trying to improve. So there's going to be a survey that will pop up once this webinar ends. And we'd love to hear your feedback on what you'd like to learn from us, hear from us, any way to engage in the future. And with that, thank you.
Thank you.